Good evening everybody, welcome to the studio this evening. I shall just place on my CSI gloves and we will start doing some more on this fella here. Now I know I said yesterday there wasn't going to be a stream tonight. I got it wrong. I thought I was going somewhere tonight. Turns out I'm not. So that's why I'm here this evening. Right, so I was going to maybe do something with the eye of this tiger. The other eye. And hopefully I've got a little bit more confidence having done that one. So let's start with a little bit of fur around the eyes and then we'll take it from there. Now then, I've rearranged the lighting tonight, so I'll have to see how it goes. Fluffy Twiglet. Good, isn't it? You know, once I've done the other eye, I'm sort of slightly tempted to just leave the whole thing just like that when the other eye's done. But only slightly tempted. Okay, just trying to give myself a rough idea of where I want the outer fur of the eyelid, or the eye, just below the eye. And that's just reaching onto the nose. Yeah, it could do. It could indeed do. Could indeed do. I mean, it is almost as though it's just peeking out the darkness. I don't know. Well, I'll have a think about it. It really is one of those things. Should I leave it at that point? I'm not, finish the eye obviously, but I'm not even sure you necessarily need to even connect it. I mean, just eyes is on their own, just sort of in the darkness, is quite a powerful sort of image. It's just eyes, that you can't see the rest of it. It's that not traditional, it's that primitive being watched predator fear response. when you see just eyes on their own. LDLH, good evening, good afternoon, depending on your time zone, of course. I suppose I should say good morning as well. Fluffy Twiglet, you ought to follow me on Twitter. You'd have found out I did tweet this morning that I was going to stream tonight. Indeed, I wasn't. I thought I was going out tonight. I was wrong. Actually, the thing we were going to go to got cancelled, and I didn't know until after the stream last night that it had got cancelled. So here I am. So how's your orchids and irises going, Fluffy Twiglet? Okay. Late lunch, I take it then. You're going to heat your lunch. Okay. Ah. Yeah, sort of LDH. I mean, I had my lunch at 3 o'clock today, so. And from time to time, I'll have my lunch at 4:30. So depends on what I actually need to get done work-wise. So that's yeah, let's go like that way. So. Sometimes just holding because the gloves are smooth, sometimes getting hold of a pen is just a little bit awkward. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I normally try and do that, but just sometimes uh, from time to time I'll look up the clock and it'll be about 11:45 and I'll just do it a little bit more and then I'll have my lunch and I'll look up at the clock again and it's 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock and I go, oops. Ah, okay. I've never been to one actually, to be honest. Fluffy Twiglet. And these days, I'm not quite sure whether I'd actually want to meet Colin Baker. Yeah, he always strikes me as being very eccentric these days. That's a little bit too white. Might have to deal with that a bit later. But Chris Barry, it's kind of weird. Well, I was going to say, not Chris Barry isn't weird. It's kind of weird that he's almost completely different to the person he's most. Well, I was about to say most famous for playing. I don't know if he's most famous for playing in Red Dwarf or not, but that's kind of where I always think of him. And his sort of real life is completely different. I mean, most actors are, I guess, but sometimes you can sort of see the same thing in them. But right, this eye. Dear. Just a little bit nervous of this eye, but here goes. So at the pupil about there. So this eye is going to start from about there and go like. So we're going to go from the corner around. But it wants to be about that size. Okay. Oh, you're getting you're getting rebuffering at your end. I take it, Alt LH. I'm just looking here. The target stream bandwidth is 1.6 megabits, and it's roughly maintaining that. Although most of it'll be junk information because there's not a lot moving on screen. Right. I'm just making barely visible marks here. Well, they're barely visible to me, and they'll be almost, if not actually, invisible to you guys. I'm more, well, whilst I am actually scratching the black very slightly, it's more of a indenting it rather than scratching it through to the white underneath. And I'm doing that because I can scratch over the top of it if I need to, and if I really need to fix it, then I can apply a black ink without there being next to no visible things, because I only need a really tiny amount of black ink. So is that eye about the same size? It is. It's about the same brownness. And with the light being in that direction, that's a bit more vertical as that across that. Yeah, okay. Right, I was looking at lighting direction. Of course, the light's coming from this direction here. Should I zoom out a little bit? That's in. That's out. So the light's kind of in this direction from top left. Hence the placement of the reflections. I kind of don't like crowds that much these days, Fluffy Twiglets. Conventions of all kinds don't fantastically interest me, and I'm almost sort of it's almost a case of, well, I was about to say I can't see the point in going. And I was just trying to think, I suppose a lot of conventions, I've been to a lot of trade shows, and I must admit sometimes I can't see the point in going to those, but there's a well, you don't buy things at trade shows, but there's kind of lots of booths that you're looking at products and things like that off. And I suppose conventions are the same, really, aren't they? Because you've got a lot of people selling stuff there. So I just having been to so many sort of trade shows and things like that, I just get fed up of having to wait through people and the noise of the place, and it just gets really tiring. Right. Commit scratch to board. I really have to be careful not to mess this up, haven't I? So having done one eye, Last minute day out and fun. You make it sound like you're going to a funeral the day after, you know. I thought you were all keen to go back to university. And now it's kind of like, last day of fun. And mm-hmm. Well, partly Fluffy Twiggler. I was just teasing you. You know my sense of humour by now. Um, but yeah, students, lots of work. Yeah. All right. How come it is that all students always say they've got lots and lots of work, and then they go to parties and they go to the pub and they. I'm just building up slowly, making sure I retain that radius from the pupil area and going all around rather than trying to do it in one go. And if I make small scratches as well as I'm doing this, it rather than long lines, what it does is gives the pupil more texture and interest. And if you look, I'm going to say, if you look really closely into a leopard's eyes or a tiger or any cat's eyes, I'm not sure you get that close enough to a leopard to want to look that close into his eyes, but maybe they'll, a telephoto lens. It's amazing just how, because the pupil is kind of lots of little tiny muscles, as far as I'm aware, but it's kind of, it's not a dead smooth sheet of material. It's all sort of textured and what have you, and it's human eyes I guess are the same as well, but it's a really sort of fascinating texture. And if you did it dead smooth, it would just not be quite the same. You don't do that. What? You don't work or you don't go to pubs? Told you I've got a funny sense of humour. Are you actually going to a local university then, or do you actually move somewhere else when you're at university? I can't actually remember. I've got a feeling I asked you that before and you've probably answered me, but sieves, if you remember. Old LH. How's your dinner? Is it lunch? Is it hot? Well, it must be hot. That's what you were doing, is heating it. But you know what I mean. These days, my lunch is usually sandwiches of some kind. Don't often have a hot meal at lunchtime. Now, one thing I really do want to make sure I try and do here is ensure that both pupils are actually looking straight at you and staring. Okay. 4-minute car journey? That sounds like it'd be quicker to walk than take a car. Northampton. Okay. Northampton University. Back when I was a lad. I'm trying to think what Northampton University was. If indeed it was a university back then. What its specialism was, because I don't know if they do now, but at one time, of course, many universities used to have a specialism and be known as things like Manchester UMIST, of course, was, well, for technology, but for computing back in my day. It was one of the leading computing universities. And I'm trying to think, there was obviously one in London that was, and I can't remember which it is now. And there's about three or four around the place, and that because I was looking at doing a degree in programming of some kind. Eventually, I went to work and did an apprenticeship, which gave me more money. But 3D bloke, good evening. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I suppose the 2 minutes of yeah, okay. I'll let you get away with it. I'm kind of thinking by the time you're taking it from a flat to a car, gone a few minutes, come out. It might have been. Never mind. You're at the artsy one. Okay. I really can't. It's what now? 30 odd years, at least 30 odd years ago when I was looking at university. So I'm not up with them these days. And of course, a lot of the technical colleges and I forgot what they were. God blimey. You've got technical colleges, you've got universities, and you've got polytechnics. That's the one. Which all, of course, all of them convert. A few years ago, they all converted to be universities. And so what I knew was universities now are somewhat bigger than that, and of course they've merged and what have you as well. So multiple campuses were probably a polytechnic and a university that just merged together. So I never actually did a degree course. I didn't go from school to university. I went to do I did. I went to work as doing apprenticeship, and whilst I was doing an apprenticeship, I did effectively what would have been, well, it was a part-time. What were they called back then? I can't remember what what they were called back then, but it was part-time course, essentially in telecommunications and related subjects. Silicon's a stone, isn't it? No, it isn't. Well, sort of. Sand, silicon, silicate. I give up. I've got chat on an HD screen, which means it's about 50 lines long. I'm also using Better Twitch TV, which has a chat buffer built into it. That response I like, LDH, yes. Actually, it's daft. It really is daft when I think about it. Yeah, that same question. I mean, cars, yeah, fine. Yeah. But TVs, I remember TVs that were both black and white, and they were 4 or 5 line TVs, not 625 or HD that we have now, in the UK anyway. So I can remember, back before colour televisions were around, and before, the standard definition TVs were around. So, it's relatively speaking not that long ago. I mean, I can't actually remember how old I was when we went from 405 to 625 to standard definition TV. And then it was about 3 or 5 years later when we went to colour TVs. And I can remember video recorders that were as big as a suitcase, a real big thing. And it's it really isn't that long ago. Back then computers basically almost didn't exist, and now there's more computing power in the webcam than there is, that existed in the world back then. I think I was about. Well, even when I was 17 or 18, you could still get. There was still around were 4 or 5 line TVs. I know, because as a radio amateur, we could use them, and you actually had 4 or 5. There was a lot of surplus of 4 or 5 video cameras around, and rather than trying to do a conversion, it was easy just to pipe them into a 4 or 5 line TV. So they were still around when I was probably about 16 or 17, which means that I'm 50 odd now, so it's not that long ago. They were still around, and that was, I say, black and white. So yeah, that's right. In actual fact, I talk about clearing out the other day. I actually threw one away. Yeah, and you, as you said, keys. You know, each key was sort of that size. If you imagine them that way, side by side. Um, Actually, it can't have been that old because it was a VHS. It took a VHS cassette, and the Betamax was out before that. So yeah, cathode tube TVs. Well, they are still around. People are still using CRTs. Well, of course, back then, pushing the key actually moved all the mechanics around. You know, and these days, of course, it's all motor driven, or was, or is motor driven. But yeah. And I mean, in some ways, they were absolutely fantastic. The way they did things. And the way they overcome the challenges of because unlike audio, the tracks on an audio tape actually go along they're along the length of the tape. On a video tape, the tracks are short sections at an angle, and they're that because the tape couldn't move fast enough, or if it did, it wouldn't last very long, for them to be along the length. And they had to be a certain width because the scan was I think it was a single line, might have been two lines, I can't remember now, and that the actual timing of a line had to fit across the width. The head spinning had to fit across the width of a tape, and that actually dictated things like the actual physical width of the cassette tapes. Yeah, well, for artistic purposes, CRTs are better. They've got a better colour range than just about anything out. I'm kind of interested to see how well the OLEDs do. Trenta, hello and welcome. Good evening. You know, the old reel to reel, many of the old reel to reel stuff was extremely high quality recording for what they were, compared even with stuff today. I don't want that to be quite as. Okay, now let's add a little bit more texture into this. I read that you found it so interesting and so relatively easy to do things in UE that you're going to spend the rest of the week playing with it. That pupil wants to be just a little bit wider. Iris, not pupil. Right, so let's add a bit more texture in here. And basically create a light band. But not too light. Yeah, well, I mean, there's quite a few games use that engine, and I mean, what just came to mind immediately there. I mean, I don't know what some of the published games are, but Cyan, who did the Myst series, they're bringing out a new game on the Unreal Engine. And of course you've got, since I watch every day, you've got Train Simulator. They're bringing out probably next year their next generation Train Simulator is on the Unreal Engine. And I've kind of seen sort of people do the basic scene build apparently is time consuming, shall we say, but once you start doing things like adding dynamic lighting, it's kind of like I've sort of watched, I won't say demos, but how-to type things, and it's kind of like a line of text and all of a sudden you've got full dynamic lighting, or you've got candle light effects, or you've got glows appearing, and then you've got reflection, and it just seemed, well, I mean, obviously the person that was doing it knew exactly what they were doing, and they knew just the way to get the dramatic effects, but it really did seem so easy to generate the environment that you kind of think, and it looks, I mean, they look relatively realistic, in immersion quality, shall we say. But Arc, yeah. Another one, is it Tug? I think uses it as well. It really is kind of surprising. A lot more don't, but a lot don't. But of course, a lot of companies like their own engines, and of course you can have an absolutely fantastic engine. You don't doesn't mean the games are any good. That's when sort of gameplay really shows up. Then. Oh, okay. I've only ever thought of UE as being, full environmental simulation, if you like, not as you mentioned there, 2D scrollers or things. Interesting. kind of wish I had the ability to think up game concepts, to be able to sort of even apply them into something like that. I mean, that's the hard part about any game, of course, is writing the story for it. So, well, it's a hard part. It's maybe not the only hard part, but Sophie, when are you releasing your blockbuster game? Yeah, true. Yeah, I mean, I do like playing around with software just to play around with software, and it's learning something. And even if I never use it, I learned something, and I enjoyed learning stuff. But 2351. Now then, you see, but what you've actually done is you've put a release date on it. You know, all these, it'll be released when it's released. You've got the confidence. You've gone ahead and you've actually given a release date. That beats half the other AAA titles on the market, or not on the market, as the point will maybe. You know, you're already one step ahead in your marketing there. You've got a release date. I kind of have lots of. I could kind of like have lots of ideas, but it's developing that idea into the story. You know, there's plenty. You know, potentially got plenty of ideas around. I mean, I read a lot of science fiction books, for example, and a lot of them potentially have you could say they have the scope to be turned into games of some kind, but yeah, it's writing that story. You never know. The way technology is going free, you might still be around then. Now then, let's make this eye look wet. And now the little trick here of not quite bright enough. Thank you very much, Aldel H. I love adding just that reflection to eyes. It just really makes them pop, and you get the really makes them look wet and actually sort of round and 3D and all sorts of stuff. You gather I'm looking at my monitor. Right, let's do a little bit more work around here. Yeah, that'll have to get a lot brighter, but we'll sort that. Right, let's give him something between the eyes. No, not yet. I'm actually kind of pleased, to be honest. I don't mind him coming in after the stream, but I think he was on the desk all day. So when you saw him last night, he stayed on there till about 2 o'clock this afternoon. Didn't bother getting up, so. Yep, very likely. He's possibly just outside playing. He might pop in a bit later on. I don't think the weather's too bad outside, so. Hey Default Guy, good evening and welcome to the studio. So I'm basically going to have shapes, subtle shapes and subtle lighting to give that transition around the nose. Well, I'm not doing too bad, thank you. The other guys can answer for themselves. So we've got really quite dark around here, so that's obviously a bit too dark because you can't see it on camera. And that's better. Sorry, Default Guy, just laughing at that. I think the I think Galdel H was meaning what it is it's a it's going to do a painting of a turntable record deck. So the painting will be of a Technics brand turntable. $4.20 night. That wouldn't be dominance, since that's about £35. Well, if you're into Train Simulator, there's 40% off Eddie Falkeye on most of the engines and some of the routes. And it's kind of just like that. Okay. And then we're into the Exilian. Hello, welcome to the stream this evening. You'll have had the well, as soon as you load Steam, you'll get the download to 2016, which is just uh, the basic engine updates. But you don't get all of the new features, and you don't get obviously the new content that's in it, like the turbine train in America. So if you want that, you have to buy Train Simulator again, and then add it into your Steam library. But most most of the content, or quite a lot of the content, there's some 250 plus items at 40% off. So it's like doing a still life old AH, or a Tiger. He just happens to do it of a record turntable. Yeah, it's a still life for DJs. Just Jessup, good evening and welcome. Actually, I know he's usually on screen. I'm gonna say when you watch him, if you look back at some of the painting VODs where he's got some of his older pictures displayed on the rolling on the screen, you'll see a couple of them which are just of the turntables. Why did I pick a leopard with all the black spots? I keep asking myself this question. Yeah, but this particular time, the what they call the extreme package, they've done all the basic. They've done a lot of basic updates to the engine. The graphical updates that they do each time, and the sound, etc. But like some of the new, I think something like the new menu layouts and some of the capabilities. I think things like rail fan mode. I don't actually know what it is, what all of it is, because I didn't look. But some of those are restricted to only having the Smurith or Smurry. Welcome, thank you. Are restricted to those people who have actually bought the 2016 version, and you can buy it. I think you have to do a trick. You have to do something like buy it for a friend. Add it to your own library or inventory, and then add it to your library to get it to give you the extra bits. I'm not quite sure. Exilian, they're amazing. Freeze pictures, yeah, I agree. That's actually Aldel H. That's what I thought the first time I heard him talk about that. I literally thought he'd take a turntable and paint it. Paint the turntable, but no. And we have, that roughly goes up that sort of angle there, which then joins with that, and we start getting the dots in there. The black areas start to come in. Yeah, indeed, Exilian. It was something that Fluffy Twiglet said right at the start of the stream. You almost could. You almost could. Um, it it sort of has that, well, I don't say menacing look, but it does have that sort of nighttime eyes peeking you out of the forest type of look. I'm not sure whether I actually want to stop at that point though. I know Fluffy was suggesting joining the eyes into into the muzzle. You sort of could do that as well. I'm just amazed at something I've just noticed. I've got what appears to be a shadow across there, just across there. I managed to get what that wasn't the intention of it, but that's what it looks like at the moment. Oh no, the it's a good question, Ecthelian, as to whether I should stop it at this point. You know, that's always artistic wise. That's always the question when with something like this. When you see that and you go, you know what? Should I really do any more? It's I think I will probably carry on a little bit, but it is a serious question to start to look at and go, is that more powerful? Is that a better image at this stage than it would be to put the rest in? And I really actually don't know the answer. I really don't know the answer. I mean, I'm not going to add a great big area to it to do a bit more now, but it really is at that point where you start to go, yeah. I don't know. You guys are looking at it. What's what are you guys thinking of whether it should or shouldn't? I need to do a bit more work on the nose, but even if I left it to put the actual nostril area in, but because we've just been adding the fur, and of course you've got that the centre and is it the sternum? No, that's on your back. The centre point of the nose, the bit that always looks like rubber on a cat. I don't particularly have one, Aldel H. There are times when they all look, fantastic. It just depends on situations. I think a lot of the really fantastic pictures are things like with the snow leopards or the white I'll call them snow tigers, but the I don't think it's actually a designation of one, but the white and black tigers, where you see them on sort of snow line against a forest or something like that. They can be some really beautiful pictures, but I don't particularly have a favourite, I don't think. What's yours anyway, Aldel H? If you that way with Paisanis. Okay, that's an unusual one. I don't think I've ever come across Paisanis before. Needs a bit of a sharpen. Siberian tigers. They are the white ones, aren't they? Are Siberian tigers white? No? Or maybe I'm thinking of white Siberian tigers. I don't know. Yeah, well, it would actually be albino in English, but close enough. Yeah, Ixilian, it's, yeah. Oh, yeah, 3D. Yeah, anything can go in a sandwich. Anything can go in a sandwich. I've had things like green peas, garden pea sandwiches, and things like that before now. Mm-hmm. there would be some people that would question the use of those two words together in a sentence, Subway and sandwich. Others, it's almost like the Cornish pasty though, free, isn't it? You imagine a sandwich that sort of, I don't know, started with, I don't know, I'm trying to think what would be at one end, but then moved into a bit of roast beef, and then moved into sort of apple pie at the end. I actually don't. Well, I was going to say I don't like proper Cornish pasties because I don't actually like. Well, I don't mind the pastry, but for Cornish pasties, I don't actually like that. I actually prefer flaky pastry for Cornish pasties myself, and that's the Englishified Cornish pasties that are full of that are meat only rather than the true Cornish pasties, but. And around there we've got, yeah, the fur's going in roughly that sort of direction. Could well be. The fun bit is when you have a soup sandwich. What I'm doing when I do, if you see me doing this, what I'm kind of doing is practicing where the lines should go, where the yeah. You just got to make really thick soup, 3D block. That's the trick, yeah, making the soup thick enough. That fur around there needs to be denser, but we'll get back to that. Yeah, yeah, really thick braid. Yeah, you want sort of like that farmhouse, really sort of hard skinned farmhouse bread. So you take about half a loaf, dig the middle out, and then put your soup in that. I actually prefer really, I wasn't going to say watery soups because that's not what I mean, but really thin soups, like the chicken noodle or the Florida Spring vegetables, or just thin vegetable type soups and things like that. I don't tend to care much for things like the big soups and the thick soups. Although I don't mind a bit of cream of mushroom from time to time. Yeah, that's right. Yorkshire pudding with full of onion gravy. Gosh, you know what Yorkshire puddings are for, aren't you? So you don't eat the meat. Okay. So the proverbial question then, Free, is it scone or is it scone? Devonshire cream teas. We'll have you absolutely starving by the end of this stream, LH. I just use the two interchangeably myself as well. I don't. I mean, I am a Yorkshireman, but I actually have no idea which one should or shouldn't be the right one. I guess wherever it was actually invented should be the right one, but yeah. Yeah, that's true. What's the other one? Tea cake as well. Tea cake. Does a tea cake have currants in it? And you've all that lot. I'd probably rather have a jam donut, just to keep, to keep tweaking LH there. A jam donut or a donut, split a long sort of finger donut, split down the middle, full of thick whipped cream with sort of jam drizzled on the top. Sorry, Aldo, you're the one that said it was making you hungry. What did you expect us to do? I like that shading around the eyes now. Well, that's been proved, hasn't it? I mean, it was proved in a court of law. Was that, and it came down to the fact that if you leave a Jaffa cake standing, like for 3 weeks, it goes hard, just like cake does. You do that with a biscuit, it goes soft. Jaffa cake is a cake. Therefore, it doesn't have VAT, if I remember rightly. Although I don't know if they've changed that now. Actually, Aldo, it's not about sinning, but to be honest, quite often I'd rather have salad, but I like salad with cauliflower, cabbage, broccoli, mushrooms, onions. What else do we put in them? Sometimes tomatoes, grapes, sometimes fish. Yeah, fish sticks. So mix all that lot up. A vegetable salad, basically, carrots, because they're quite sweet. Mix all that up with a bit of olive oil and mint. So, right, around here, yeah, so we've got to start and extend out these hairs. So we change the texture from the dots to more hair-like, or short scratches rather than dots. It is in a way, but it fills you up really well, especially when you get a big dinner plate piled high with the stuff, and you eat that. You're not hungry after it. Well, not usually. And yes, it actually works really well with a nice sirloin cooked on the side. Now, apart from the cucumber, we don't eat cucumber a lot. I don't mind it, but not everybody here does. But mango, yeah, sounds nice. Chop it up, mix it together a little bit. I thought I heard something. We may get a visit, and in which case it may well be the end. Oh, I like celery. Celery is one thing I do like, so... Once made some celery wine. I'd just enough celery to make about 3 bottles of celery wine, and and when we actually drank that wine was absolutely fantastic to my palate. I really loved that wine. I was never able to recreate it again. I was really annoyed. I couldn't get that same taste. I don't know what it was, but yeah, I love celery. Cucumber's not bad. Yeah. Cucumber's nice because of the wateriness of the core, especially if you sort of half freeze the cucumber, so it's not frozen but it's really cold. You do the same thing with watermelon as well, so it's not frozen but it's really cold, and then you start with that. It's nice. Celery and cheese soup, yeah? Maybe. Don't know. Does sound... The only thing that bothers me with celery is unless you so spend the time that's de-stringing it. If you de-string it, then it's a lot nicer. Celery, it's nice stick of celery, a sprinkling of make it so it's damp, and then a sprinkling of salt over the top, and yeah, I'm away with that. Quite happy with that. Especially if you're drinking the stuff out of your fridge. Oh, it's I thought it was 3D bloke that was mentioning the alcohol there. And here he comes. Now with the light there, there's next to no place for you to sit down, Junior. And welcome to the stream. You can guess where Junior's just sat, because of course your screen has gone black. Please do not adjust your sets, that really is a black cat. You've been missed, Junior. He's just been doing a little bit of washing up, and now he's having a wash. And it looks like he's going to yeah, no, I'm just going to sit here. Forget the if it's okay bit free. There's no if it's okay involved at all. Well, I think that probably means we're not going to get much more done, because he is literally in the workspace. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you I'm going to try and give you a look at what this looks like at the moment, if I can find a position in which I can show it off. That looks really white just because of it's right close to the light, but so it's got a lot more contrast than it would do normally, because that light's really close to it. But that's as far as we've got tonight, and we're not likely to be able to progress it anymore, I'm afraid. So that unfortunately will, oops, sorry about that, will be it for this evening, I think. So now of course I've done that, and forget that. I'll pick this camera up. I'm not messing about with with the configuration, but there we go. It's interesting, Free, because none of our cats have ever been bothered by pictures or even by the by mirrors, as far as I'm aware. And even if I showed Junior a picture of himself on the computer, you know, like now, if I took a picture, he'd just ignore it. As you can gather, he's busy having a wash. So it's 5 to 10 anyway. So it's sort of a useful reminder. Oh well, it's not exactly a reminder. It's kind of a demand, you know, to stop. So. I don't know. Well, let's have a go. Let's see if he wants his back scratched. Do you want your back scratched? No. No. If you well, I'm watching him carefully when I was doing that. He would have had a go at putting his teeth on me. He probably wouldn't have bitten, but he'd have put his teeth on me. He doesn't really like having his back scratched. His head, yes. You've had one that freaked out at a mirror. Huh? I don't think any of ours have. I think one of them maybe investigated it for a little bit but didn't really bother. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, you're going to sit on my knee. Come on then. Let me just untangle this camera. Sorry, I hope you don't get seasick, but there we go. Untangle the camera so that you can see the pussycat. So whilst I am busy settling this pussycat down, what I'm going to do is, of course, remind anybody who's watching about the advert that is scrolling across the top of the screen for the Etsy shop. So if you're not taking a look, I encourage you to do so. Of course, well, I would do, wouldn't I? It's a shop. But feel free to pass on the URL to any friends, family, or other people that you might come across. And there is obviously that 5% discount coupon available until about the end of this month. And if there's anybody watching that isn't following, and why would you not want to follow a stream where you get a lovely pussycat like this comes to visit from time to time? I say he's lovely when he's like this, and when he's scratching me he's not quite so nice, but anyway. Yeah, push the follow button if you don't already, and you'll be notified when I go live, and you might just get to see Junior again. But you can also follow me on Twitter @ZeragonArt, and that way you'll get a tweet when I go live, and occasionally when I make mistakes, like saying I'm not going to stream and actually am. But otherwise, if you just want to try and catch me, I should be on again tomorrow night, 8 PM UK time, 1900 hours. I should say UTC rather than GMT. UTC, Universal Time Coordinated. Or approximately 2 hours ago it was 8 o'clock, so do a bit of maths, work it out. That time tomorrow night. Yeah. If you know what it is for, you're quite welcome to post it in the stream as well. But apart from that, thank you all, everybody. There you go, there's me. Thank you all, everybody, for watching this evening. It has been quite fun. We got a reasonable amount done on the image. Let's put that down there just so you can see it now. So we're now starting to connect the eyes with the muzzle, and then we'll decide whether to take it any further or not. I don't know. Probably will a little bit, I think, even if it's only to start to flesh out some of the cheeks. So we'll see you all again tomorrow. Thank you very much, and bye bye.